Trio office. Hello. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
What's up, everybody? It's Chance. So I'm doing my persuasive speech over why not to discriminate. So, Google defines discrimination as, let me get the paper so I can specifically say every word, the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, sex, age, religion, and sexual identity. So, this is racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, all that good stuff. That's how we sort of know what discrimination is. So, on average, I think it's said on the Pew Research Center about 58% of Americans have faced discrimination sometimes in their lives. Now, this is a broad category. When you say Americans, there are Latinos, there's African Americans, there's women, men, gay, straights, giant category of when you say Americans because there's no just one typical American. We're all different in our unique ways. But 58% of Americans saying that they have been discriminated against before is a really high number. Now, okay, so I did a poll of 50 people. This includes some faculty, this includes students. So 17 of them were African Americans, 25 were white, 6 were Latinos, and 2 were Asians. Now, 35 of them I know personally, so I specifically chose them for the reason of this poll, so it was not just selective or anything. So, some of the questions I asked them were about their identity, because how we identify ourselves is really what makes us who we are, and that's what when you get discriminated against, that's usually what it is. Things that you identify with, what makes you a person is what other people have discriminated you against. So I wanted to ask these people what their identity is, what makes a big part of their identity. So 20 of the white people didn't see their race as important. Generally in America, it's typical to be white. Our American dream is built off white father going to work, white mother staying at home working, white son being the all-American football player, and the white daughter being smart, being a cheerleader. 1950s, white picket house, suburban neighborhood, right? So, white people, we don't see our race as something that we truly identify ourselves with. I know personally, I don't. But, however, 15 of the African Americans seen themselves as their race is one of their primary things that they identify themselves with. They believe that that is something that really makes them who they are. All 6 of the Latinos that I asked all said their race is a very big thing about who they are. And that also is a cultural thing too. And the 2 Asians I asked too, where in Asia they're from, I don't know. But, okay, so I asked some general questions. So 12 out of the 50 were members of the LGBTQ community, and all of them said that has a big impact on their lives. Because in America, we may be a well-developed first world nation, but LGBTQ rights have had trouble kicking off here in America, whether as in Denmark or Sweden or Switzerland and other places like that are more highly developed to these things. So 31 out of the 50 identified as female. 1 of the females was not born a female. They are at the end of transitioning to becoming a female. So they were born a male. And she said that is probably the biggest thing about her life because she's faced a lot of discrimination. There's been private workplaces here in Missouri that will not hire her. And sadly, it's not against the law not to hire her because she's transgender. Missouri don't have no laws protecting against that. So she's being discriminated not only out in public, but she can't get jobs because of who she is. Okay, so 27 out of the 30 girls born female said that their gender has a big impact on who they are. Then when I get into some of the people that I asked, I'll further explain. So only 21 out of the 50 that I asked, religion plays a part in who they are. Some of them were avid atheists. Some of them were Catholic, some of them were Baptist, Muslim, I mean, a wide variety. So when I include religion, I include all, even if you're atheist, because technically that's freedom to express religion. So, and when I broke that down, only a couple of the white people said that religion played a big part, but a lot of the African Americans said religion plays a big part. All of the Latinos and none of the Asians, they didn't, religion doesn't play a big part of their lives. Now, when I asked Dr. Nance, the director of the admissions office here at State Fair Community College, she is a black female, openly lesbian, and she said them three things have had big impacts on her life. She said that she herself has felt she's had to work harder for where she is now because of her stance as a woman, as a black woman, and as a lesbian on top of all that. Then when I talked to Dr. Poor, the Dean of Student Services here at State Fair Community College, she got all in depth with it. She said from the way she enters a meeting here at State Fair, she has to change herself because men are typically more dominant in these meetings and they try to overshadow her or kind of shut down her opinion. So she has to be more assertive when she's in an all-man environment. She informed me back in 1999, where she was working at this office, that she was a member of the board, but all the female members of the board had to sit there and hand out pie. And all the men of the board got to sit. And this is only 20 years ago. Like, women were still passing out pie like this is the 1940s. So she was being, maybe not discrimination, but they were using these gender norms in an office place, which typically can be considered discrimination. She honestly, she had a whole thesis about this too. I got to read some of her thesis, some of her opinions on how women are treated in a workplace. And when I compared her to her and her predecessor, Joe, or the person she took job for, Joe Gilger, the old Dean of Student Services, she said she feels she has to work 1,000 times harder than she did to be noticed and to be where she had be. Because I asked, so if you and Joe were in the same position, tied and tied, would you try to outwork him because of who you are? She was like, yes, because as a man, they're going to ask him first, no matter where we are, what situations, they're going to ask him first on everything. My opinion will come last. She's like, so she would have to work 10 times hard to make sure she was on the same or above level as Joe was. So that's a great personal testimony, I think. Anyways, so moving on. All right. So discrimination in America has progressively gotten worse in a way. There's been this hyperpolarization of political views and differences in age. So me, I am the beginning of a generation known as Gen Z or iGen. I have grew up seeing black people on TV, seeing women in superior roles than men. I have seen gay people on TV. I grew up in a multicultural environment, so I don't have a lot of the same perspectives on discrimination as other people did. Like my grandma, she said when she was on TV, when she would watch TV, it was all white people, mainly white males. White females played submissive roles, and if there was black people, they acted as servants and stuff. She was like, but there wasn't a Latino to be seen on TV back in the 50s and 60s. So how I've grown up is different. And this leads me into discrimination is not natural. It is taught. But it's not taught in the sense that you're going to hate black people, you're going to hate white people. It's taught in the sense as our surroundings. We pick up this perception at a young age, what is normal. So for people back then, you're seeing the picture perfect American family, the American dream, the white dad, white mom, and submissive roles. I think my favorite perception of this is the original Battleship board game box. The white son and the white father are sitting there playing the game at the table. In the corner of the box, the white mother and the white daughter are doing dishes. that right there showed men are superior, that whites are dominant, and that females are submissive and need to stay in their own roles. Where me, I've grown up, like I said, with all these different expectations. So it's been taught differently for us, and that's why Gen Z and millennials have been more tolerant of demographical differences than Gen X, baby boomers, silent gen, and all the generations before us. So it's not natural that we do this. It's taught. But why we do it, I don't know why we do it. I can say that I have discriminated against people before. You guys probably have. So after 9/11, did y'all feel differently about Muslims? Yes or no? After 9/11, directly after 9/11, not now, not 10 years after, but directly after the Trade Centers fell, that week, did y'all feel differently about the Muslim religion and people? Yes or no?
No.
No? Y'all didn't? Some of the other people I asked said they did directly after that, because how TV emphasized it, it was not terrorists, it was Muslim terrorists, not Muslim extremists, not terrorists, but Muslim terrorists. They specifically and point out Muslim terrorists. So the media created and manipulated the population to specifically target one of the largest religions of mankind. And that is still the most discriminated against religion in the United States. Above Jewish, above Catholics, above Christianity, above atheists. Americans do not like Muslims. And it can all sort of be linked towards 9/11. So, what are some things that we can do to try to stop discrimination? We've came a long way. I think it helps changing our media, changing our views and stuff like that, and how we teach our kids that when we show them images, it's more diverse cultural, because America is not just one set culture. We are ever changing. Even in the beginning, we were not just all white. We were not just all man. And there were women back then that even pioneered. There were black people back then that pioneered the way. There was a gay man who trained the entire Continental Army, who was kicked out of France, who pioneered this way. So our country's been built off diversity, but yet we still have these norms that we try to implement that justify discrimination in a sense. So we need to start changing the views of our young, like we have been doing. We need to teach them that it's not okay, that there's a million different definitions of normal, that no one's normal. There's a million different definitions that we can do as normal. Nothing's normal, everybody's unique. And what I think is, we all came into this world the same. We were all born the same, we were all conceived the same. And we're all made up of the same 6 compounds. The only thing that makes us different is demographical differences. And we let that dictate who we like, who we talk to, who we hire, who we communicate with, things like that, which is wrong. Because at the end of the day, we were born the same, so we're going to go out the same way. But do not discriminate, everybody. Thank y'all.
I was like, I paused it.